Welcome to my secret channel, my super hyper secret channel that nobody knows about except for the government. NieR Replicant! Okay, NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139. That's right. I didn't even have to look at it. I remembered the numbers. Yes, I remember the numbers because someone on Twitter made like an easy way to remember it. It's like 1.2247. Okay, so you get 224 and you double it, so it's 448, but you keep the 7. So 2247 4487, and then you just add a 139. That's how I remembered it. Thank you, random person on Twitter. Yeah. So on this channel, I already made a video about the Drakengard series. Ignoring Drakengard 2, I never played it. Probably won't ever play it, at least not for a long time. It's not made by Yoko Taro, so it doesn't exist. Yeah, I've become quite a Drakengard and NieR fanboy. I like probably 90% of the community started out with NieR Automata, which is like it's in my top 5 favorite games. I think it's like my 5th favorite game of all time, probably. And I love the entire series. I think that Drakengard and NieR is genius in many regards. It falls short in many regards as well, but in a way it kind of adds to its charm. That's kind of the perspective I take on it. Yeah, if you watch the Drakengard video, I pretty much just talk about how Drakengard 1, I do like Drakengard 3 as well. I would say Drakengard 3 is probably my least favorite Yoko Taro game that I've played, but I still really love Drakengard 3. I think it's fantastic. But and I did talk about Drakengard 3 in that video, but it was more so a little bit more focused on Drakengard 1, which I said it lives rent-free in my head, because it does, even though it has a lot of problems. And I always tell myself that if I could have one game be like remade from the ground up, like just like a kind of like a Final Fantasy VII remake sort of deal, I would make it like Drakengard 1. That would be the game I would probably want remade the most. But you know, we're here to talk about NieR Replicant. But it's interesting, it's important to talk about Drakengard because the way NieR Replicant follows or connects to Drakengard is seriously one of the most fascinating things that I've ever like experienced in a game. I really enjoy lore, but the only like lore, the only series lore I've ever gotten really into is NieR and Drakengard because I just find it so fascinating. I'm a big fan of it. So obviously there's gonna be spoilers in this. This is not like a review. So this is my secret channel Emerald where I talk about whatever I want. It's just it's not an analysis, it's just an experience. I forgot to say that at the beginning. But I basically talk about my observations, my experiences, and a little bit of analytical-ish stuff in there about whatever I want. Usually about anime or video games. I want to do more like general stuff, art-related stuff too. Like just talk about art as a whole or, you know, whatever. But let's get back on track. But yeah, so there's going to be spoilers in this. There's also probably going to inevitably be spoilers for Drakengard and maybe NieR Automata as well. If you have not played that, probably don't want to watch this unless you just don't care, which is fine. But yeah, there's some really crazy, amazing twists in this whole thing series. And NieR Replicant, absolutely fantastic game. That's my opinion. That's the end of the video. That's my opinion. Bye. No, I lied. I'm sorry. So let me talk first from when I first played NieR. So I played NieR Automata, I think at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and I love that game to death. It became one of my favorite games ever. I loved everything about the storytelling, the characters, the world, the direction, the weird twist. I loved the music. Okay, yeah, the music. I loved everything about it, and that was at a time when I quote unquote like rediscovered video games, because I used to be a bum and I just wouldn't like explore the medium that is video games. I didn't really play anything. You know what I do? Here's the saddest thing about I didn't even want to say this, but I didn't know what type of video games I liked after a certain point. I would literally like sit. I sound so sad, but I would sit by myself and play like Rocket League against computers and just like listen to music while I do it. And it's just, it was more so for me to just, discover new albums and stuff that I liked. But like, I was so bored with video games. And around 2017, I just completely rediscovered video games, and I actually like discovered what types of video games I actually enjoy playing in around 2017. And 2017 was such a phenomenal year. I know the video is about Replicant. I'm gonna get to Replicant, don't worry. But 2017 was such a phenomenal year for video games, like especially for me, because so many of my favorite games of all time came out in 2017. Just like, okay, 3 of my top 5 favorite games came out in 2017. So the Danganronpa V3, my favorite game of all time, came out in 2017. Persona 5, my second favorite game of all time. And NieR Automata, my 5th favorite game of all time, all came out in 2017. And there were a lot of other games outside of those that I really enjoyed as well. But NieR Automata was extremely different than what I expected. And I haven't made a NieR Automata video yet because I kind of want to replay it. I don't know when I'll do that, but eventually I do want to replay it, and then I'll make a video on it, hopefully. But that led me, like a lot of other people, to go play the original NieR. This is before Replicant came out. This was probably I want to say summer of 2018, I think. It was either 2018 or 2019, I don't remember. But that was back on the PS3, and I really enjoyed it. Now, there were 2 versions of the game originally. There was Gestalt and Replicant. We, here in the West, got Gestalt, which was just called NieR. It wasn't called NieR Gestalt, while Japan got the Replicant version and the Gestalt version. So, in Gestalt version, which, is what we got, we played as Father NieR, but in Replicant, you play as Brother NieR. So, I do think that the story, like, what would you call it? Like, I kind of enjoyed the story more from the perspective of the father, even though they're the exact same. Just because I think I find, like, parent-child relationships to be kind of more, I'm not going to say interesting, but I find it to be a little bit more hard-hitting. I feel like parents would have stronger feelings towards their children than, like, an older sibling would. But that's just me. I could see other people thinking differently, and I think Japan thinks differently. Japan seems to put a large importance on like siblings. There's just a lot of weird like brother sister complex stuff in anime, and so I'm not exactly sure where exactly that stems from, but yeah, that's a thing. But anyways, so I played the original NieR back in the day, and I remember really liking it. I didn't like it as much as NieR Automata, but I think replaying Replicant, I kind of see why so many people actually like this more than Automata. And I think Replicant does a lot of things better than Automata, and I wouldn't blame anyone for liking it more than Automata. I would still say that I do like Automata a bit more, but really not by much. I mean, I would give Automata a 10 out of 10. I would give Replicant like a 9.5 out of 10, very dang close to a 10 out of 10. I mean, when I played it originally, my opinion of it wasn't high. It was one of those instances where when I actually played it originally, I didn't like it as much as I did later in hindsight. I'm wondering, does that happen to anyone else out there? Where you play something or you watch something and you kind of just keep thinking about it and you convince yourself that you liked it more than when you were actually like consuming that thing? Because this happens to me, I think, somewhat often. And I say this because honestly, when I originally played NieR, I would have given it like a 7 out of 10, which is actually better than what critics gave it. It blows my mind that the Metacritic score for the original NieR is below 70. Which is completely outrageous. That is not. The game is far better than a 60 whatever that Metacritic has it as. So I harshly disagree with that. But at the time, I thought NieR was like a 7 or 7.5. Not that these point systems really mean that much, but I think it's fun to use them anyways, I guess. But my opinion of it has changed entirely. Like I just said, my opinion of it now is even higher, noticeably higher than it was. But as time went by, when this game was announced, I think about a year ago, I was so pumped for it. And this, for the last year, has pretty much been my most anticipated video game release. And it did not disappoint in any way, shape, or form. In fact, playing through it again, I just noticed a lot more than I did originally, and I can appreciate a lot more aspects of this game. So let's get into it. Man, it's been 10 minutes and I haven't even really talked about the game yet. Okay, it's probably going to be a long video, I guess. Okay, I'm not going to do like a story analysis where I break down everything that happens in the story. I'm going to speak a bit more generally. In my Railgun video, I literally broke down like each arc. I'm not going to do that again. So I guess on the surface, the game looks better. Dude, just look at what the game looked like before and then after. It looks significantly better. I believe Toy Logic was responsible for this remaster. I don't know if you would want to consider this a remaster or remake. There's enough new stuff about this game and that I would say maybe it could classify as a remake. I think Yoko Taro refer to it as like more than a remaster, so it's like whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really make a difference. But visually the game looks a lot better. In terms of the feel and the gameplay, you see, this is where my memory's kind of foggy because the game feels great. I actually think I got used to learning the controls of Replicant faster than I did Automata, but for the life of me, I can't remember what the original NieR felt like in comparison, and I am not plugging in my PS3 to go try it out. I don't care that much. But, I mean, the gameplay is just extremely enjoyable. If you like action RPGs, you're going to like the gameplay. It's, very fast-paced. You have a lot of different options, It's extremely enjoyable. It's like the exact type of action RPG gameplay that I enjoy. I will say I'm not a big fan of what I've played of like Devil May Cry. To me, Devil May Cry does just not feel very good to play. That's probably not a beloved opinion to have. But I only ever played a little bit of Devil May Cry 5, and I honestly only bought it because I liked the music that I had heard from it. But to me, NieR Replicant just feels like a buttery smooth to play. And I guess outside of just how it feels, a lot of the boss fights are super fun. A lot of them are pretty creative, I would say. My favorite boss fight, I think, is the new one they added. Maybe I just said that because it was like refreshing because I had not experienced it before. But the new one they added with the ship and the girl that was gonna destroy the city pretty much. Yeah, that was. I want to say that was my favorite fight, but I'm not sure. I would say I enjoy a lot of the boss fights relatively similarly. But I never really have much to say about gameplay because I more so like talking about the characters and stories and ideas and whatnot. The gameplay is just like, I don't know, it's there for me to enjoy and just have fun with. So it's not something I nerd out over too much. Like I'm not huge into just fanboying over how innovative some games mechanics are because I'm not really like that. But overall, just gameplay, I absolutely love it. I think it's really solid. It's fun, and that is the most important thing about gameplay, is that it actually feels fun to play. But I want to talk more about just story and the characters. So let me, I guess, talk a little bit about the lore. So if you don't know anything about NieR Drakengard, NieR is originally a spin-off of Drakengard. NieR was actually originally supposed to be, if I remember correctly, it was originally supposed to be Drakengard 3, but it was so different from the Drakengard games that they just decided to give it a new name. And it does obviously connect to the Drakengard games. And so Drakengard 3 was, in a way, it should have been Drakengard 4, but yeah, I mean, I think it was a pretty good idea to change the name rather than, I don't know, when it comes to numbered series, people are more likely to kind of, not really be too interested if they see, I see Drakengard 6 is coming out. I mean, I haven't played Drakengard 1 through 5, so I guess I'm going to skip this one. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, other series have made it work, like Final Fantasy. Like, you don't need to play you don't need to play the other Final Fantasy games to play, Final Fantasy 16 whenever that comes out, right? But overall, I think a name change was good for this series. So how does it connect? So as a brief little thing, I think I probably talk about it in my Drakengard video. And there's some really good, like, not kind of theory, kind of lore explanation videos out there. They're better than what I'm gonna say. But here's the TLDR. So in Drakengard 3, okay, well, first of all, Drakengard is founded in this world where I believe overnight this like metropolis just literally appeared overnight, and all these like monsters, like mythical creatures spawned from it, and that created the world of Drakengard. And I call it Drakengard, not Drakengard. It probably is Drakengard. I don't care. I'm going to call it Drakengard. Anyways, so Drakengard 3 is the earliest game we have in the timeline, and it is theorized that in one of the bad endings of Drakengard 3, which I don't remember which one exactly, basically, obviously, spoilers for Drakengard 3, but basically, the main character, Zero, had no one that could kill her, and she became possessed by that flower in her eye, and it's theorized that in that specific bad ending, she became the final boss of the true ending of Drakengard 1, which is really cool. I believe the final boss is called like Queen Beast or something like that, of the Watchers. And it makes sense if you look at it, and then you look at the final boss of Drakengard 3. They're kind of like similarly colored, I think. But it's theorized, if not confirmed, that the Drakengard 3 protagonist in a bad ending becomes the final boss of Drakengard 1 in the true ending. And then, okay, so it sounds a little crazy. But this is, I find this fun. I'm going to keep talking about it. So in Drakengard 1, in the true ending of Drakengard 1, the main character, Kym and Angelus, are transported into the real world that we know in NieR, alongside the final boss, which is the protagonist of Drakengard 3, theoretically. And when that mythical being came into the world that we know in NieR, it brought about, like, when it died, it brought about, like, all this salt-looking stuff that created, and you'll know this if you play, you'll know this term if you played NieR Replicant. It introduced this salt-looking stuff that caused white chlorination syndrome. What is white chlorination syndrome? Because the game doesn't outright tell you, but there's a lot of like hints in there. So white chlorination syndrome is basically, if you catch white chlorination syndrome, which I'm having a hard time saying, you are presented with two options. I think I was some sort of god, or I don't know what exactly it is, but something like appears before you, and you have two choices. You can either die immediately and become like a pillar of salt, or two, you can become a mindless soldier for that god or whatever it is. I don't know if it's confirmed what that thing is. And if you do that, so basically if you go with that, you're still going to be alive, but you are going to be a mindless soldier in what is called the Legion in the universe, and you have no free will. So many morons took that path. So many morons did that. A bunch of absolute lunatics decided they would just, give up their free will and harm the innocent people there. Kind of funny. But it makes sense because they probably just had the hope that one day they would, reobtain their free will. But the Legion is referenced a number of times in NieR Replicant, like in the loading screens, the documents, stuff like that. And then basically there's a war between, the people on Earth and the Legion. But as you can imagine, this disease, it keeps spreading and spreading, and the Legion's army just keeps growing and growing endlessly. And I think it's more than just humans too. Like there are like monster-esque figures that are also a part of the Legion. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read like those books or anything, so I don't really know entirely, but that's kind of the gist of it. Anyway, so how does this tie into NieR Replicant? So NieR Replicant takes place in this world with white chlorination syndrome and the Legion pretty much dominating just the innocent people there. So they need to get rid of white chlorination syndrome. How did they get rid of white chlorination syndrome? Okay, so to get rid of white chlorination syndrome, they develop what we know to be Project Gestalt. And Project Gestalt was this really, really awesome idea, kind of like something you would see in a sci-fi, which is why I like sci-fi a lot. Just really cool conceptual things like this. But Gestalts are basically like they stored the souls of human beings for this project. I don't remember where exactly they stored them. And in place of their bodies were these replicants. And replicants, I'm not exactly sure what exactly the replicants were supposed to do, but the replicants ended up obtaining, they ended up obtaining their own free will. So basically, like the larger conflict of NieR Replicant is that the original humans, which are the Gestalts, their souls began to relapse and turn into shades as we see them in the game. And the replicants are basically those shades as like bodies, original bodies, but they've developed their own conscience and their own free will. So as you can see, that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So basically, like, you know, as you're playing the game and you find this out, you come to realize that all the shades you're killing were just the original humans. And Devil and Popola who have become some of my favorite characters in the entire series after playing this game again, have basically been in charge of like overseeing Project Gestalt. But keep in mind, this is all to save humanity. At this point, I believe white chlorination syndrome, like in Replicant, white chlorination syndrome no longer exists. But here's the thing that I'm confused about now, is that now we have the black scrawl or sprawl. I think it's scrawl. For some reason I couldn't remember. I think it's scrawl. I can't remember exactly. This is me being kind of stupid. I can't remember exactly how the black scrawl came about. I want to say that it was because like the replicant bodies were relapsing, but I don't actually remember. If anyone watching this knows, please remind me, because I'm a little stupid. But as you can imagine, if you're Devil and Popola, like this is a complete disaster right now. So, and if you read some of the documents that you get in the game, you can kind of tell that these Gestalts, the original souls, were relapsing pretty early on. So it really seems like this project was, and it's, by the way, this was entirely unexpected. They did not expect this to be happening. They even said in one of their notes that even their most pessimistic predictions did not include like something as bad as the Gestalts relapsing and becoming shades. So once that started happening, it was basically like, yeah, this project is doomed. This project is doomed and humanity is doomed. And then it ties into NieR Automata in that sense. So if you don't know anything about NieR Automata, don't watch this. But in NieR Automata, there is a reveal that you think that humanity is on the moon, because that's what you've been told. You see these like hologram or whatever, like speeches or whatever from, I don't know, their president or whoever it was. And then you find out in the game, no, that was all a lie. Humanity has been dead for a very long time. So it's so interesting to see all of this occur. I think Drakengard and NieR connects in this extremely interesting way, and then the gaps in between them are gigantic, which I love that, because there's a lot of room for new games to be made in between. I really want to have like a Drakengard game or a NieR game, or I guess it would be NieR because it'd be in that world, where I would kind of like to see the war between the Legion and, you know, the others, the humans or whatever. But back to what I was talking about. So the project, pretty much, it was doomed pretty early on, and they were just trying to they were trying anything they could, I guess, to save it, to no avail, I guess. But the whole time you're playing as the main character, who is just trying to save his sister from the black scrawl disease, looking for a cure, collecting these things called sealed verses. And the main character, really ends up despising Shades, because Shades took his sister away. And, you know, I guess I'm really skipping around here, but at the end of the game, of course, the final boss is literally you, the original. It's actually the original you, the you that you play as at the very beginning of the game before the time skip. It was really before the project, and yeah, it's it's pretty cool, very creative, a very creative setup that is. So, like, just from a lore perspective, man, I love NieR Replicant so much. I think NieR Replicant is where it just gets really insane. And there are a number of references to the lore as a whole and the Drakengard universe. They do directly sort of reference Drakengard 1 and 3 in some fairly minor ways. So they reference Drakengard 3. This one's very small. But they reference Drakengard 3 in a loading screen where Yona, which is, you know, her diary entries, where Yona talks about meeting a girl, or a woman, I guess I should say, named Accord in the town center or whatever. And she said she had a bunch of like crazy stuff in her bag or whatever that she was selling or something like that. So Accord in Drakengard 3 is this observer throughout time. Like she has like a bunch of like clones or whatever. I think she's a machine or something, and she observes different branches. So Drakengard and NieR all have like several endings, meaning that there are different branches that can occur, and Accord basically observes all of them. So Accord is pretty much always present, I believe, throughout the series. I don't believe Accord would be dead in Automata, but I don't believe she's mentioned in Automata. If she is, correct me, because I would be interested to know. But Accord's she's a pretty wacky character. She's pretty funny. I kind of wish there was a little bit more Drakengard 3 references, but the reason there's not is because obviously NieR came out before Drakengard 3, so they could have added more references, but I mean, it makes sense why they didn't. I mean, the original NieR came out before Drakengard 3, so I don't think that diary entry was there in the original, though. I want to say they added that. I might be wrong about that, but that's what I don't remember that being in the original. Drakengard 1 is referenced, obviously, a good bit more, mostly just when they're mentioning, you know, the beast that brought about that I can't remember what the material is called. Meso. It was called Meso. So I pulled up the wiki. Meso or Maso, however you want to say it. As I'm looking at the wiki, reminding myself, it says brought in the world by a giant. Obviously, it's Drakengard 1 final boss. And, you know, like I mentioned, white chlorination syndrome, you're forced to. So this is something I wasn't sure if it was like a god or whatever. It was. So you basically choose a pack, choose between, you know, dying and becoming salt or whatever, or statues of salt, not a pillar of salt. I guess same thing, right? Similar enough, right? But apparently the pact you form is with a god of another dimension, which would transform them into servants, white monsters known as the Legion. Yeah. And then what else does it say here? It says, which would turn them into, no, the aforementioned monsters are led by a special legion known as the Red Eye. Is that like Kime or something? Didn't Kime have red eyes? I don't remember. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wiki right now, but it's kind of fun. According to side materials, replicants can also become red eyes. Okay, I'm gonna have to look more into this. Not right now. I'm gonna continue making the video, but I might look more into that later. But that's kind of what I love about the series, is the fact that there's all this lore that I still don't even fully understand. But yeah, besides that, the most direct reference that they make to Drakengard 1 is at the tree at the Forest of Myth, which I really like. The Forest of Myth. It was something that was a lot cooler than I remember it being. And as you're like as you're reading these stories from the tree there, it's just, you know, telling you stories, I guess. It says that it brings up this story about a red dragon, and it says something like, oh, I seem to have forgotten this one. And obviously the red dragon is referring to Angelus from Drakengard 1. And I also forgot to mention this, but at the end of the true ending of Drakengard 1, which ends up in the world that we know in NieR, as soon as Kaim and Angelus beat the final boss, basically they were immediately shot down by the Japanese Air Force, which was just really funny and quite an interesting decision, and I love it. And as they were shot down, I believe their bodies were pierced on a skyscraper, and they were basically, I believe, taken in by like researchers and experimented on, blah blah blah. I don't remember. I think maybe even the bodies disappeared or something. I'm not exactly sure. I gotta refresh myself on all this stuff. Bro, you could take a college class about Drakengard lore. Isn't that crazy? Anyways, so I mean, I would have liked even more references to Drakengard because I think Drakengard is just fascinating. I do, enjoy NieR more than Drakengard, but Drakengard is just like, something about it is so endearing to me. I think it's because the games are just like critically so poorly received, and there's just a lot of like kind of low quality aspects to the games that adds this like charm that that I just really like. Call me a hipster. Even though they're not particularly high quality games, in a sense, they're also just packed to the brim with a ton of interesting ideas and interesting commentary and interesting lore. And really just the way that it all connects between Drakengard and NieR, to me, I love so much. But you know what? I'm 32 minutes into this, almost 33 before editing, and I have hardly even talked about the rest of the dang game. So I want to talk about the characters. So dude, this game has so many good characters. This game has so many good characters. I was surprised at just how good they all were, like revisiting this game. And I was surprised at how some of my opinions have changed. And you know what? I really had a hard time picking a favorite this time around. So originally, when I played the game, my favorite character was Grimoire Weiss. But I think this time, honestly, if I had to pick a singular favorite, I think I would pick Popola. Now, I kind of want to group Devil and Popola together. If I were to pick I was thinking about this as I was playing the game. If I were to pick my 5 favorite Drakengard / NieR characters, they would be, not exactly in order, but they would be A2, Zero, Devil / Popola, and then there's just like a huge tie for the last 2 spots between like 2B, Weiss, Emil, Angelus. Actually, I might actually put Angelus top 5. I don't know. There's just so many characters, and NieR Replicant, the cast is just outstanding. I've seen a lot of people say they like NieR Replicant's cast more than Automata, and I do think that's absolutely justifiable. I mean, there's so much detail to a lot of these characters. I would say the worst character is probably just the main character, and you know what? He's still a really good character. I do think he's less interesting than the rest of the protagonists from the series. I would say he is my least favorite protagonist, but he is still a very, very, very solid protagonist. But really, Kaine, Emil, both just like excellently written characters. I imagine most people's favorite character from this game will be one of those two. So why do I pick Devil and Popola? And if I had to pick one, I'd go with Popola, but for the sake of this, I'm going to say both of them. So Devil and Popola, I love them because of the context of NieR Automata. They were created, they bear a lot of like similarities to the replicants, but they're not exactly replicants. I believe they're like basically androids. I don't know if they're not specifically the first androids ever created, but I believe in Replicant they are androids. We know that they're androids, obviously, in Automata, but they're different versions. Those are not the exact same Devil and Popola. But it's fascinating to me because they're so similar to the replicants, yet here they are overseeing this project in which they're trying to restore the gestalts, as they say it, to their original bodies that the replicants have, formed their own free will and consciousness inside of. So in a sense, they really relate to these characters that, you, I guess, and your party, right? And they do kind of adopt some like genuine feelings and attachment towards this cast. But what's so genius about it is that after Devil and Popola fail in their project, which I've seen people say that Devil and Popola are like the sole reason that the project failed, which I don't think is true, because the relapses of the gestalts happened separately, and they were just the ones reporting on this the whole time. I mean, could they have done better handling the situation? Yes, but I think the project was doomed as soon as the gestalts started relapsing, which was not their fault. But regardless, they did fail in many regards, throughout this entire project. And they, specifically towards the end of this game, they failed pretty miserably. And it's crazy because in NieR Automata, after Devil and Popola died, I believe, they died in Replicant, the ones that we know. In NieR Automata, Devil and Popola are recreated as a specific type of android model. This is what's crazy. They were quite literally programmed to feel the guilt of to feel the guilt and shame of failing in their part of Project Gestalt. That's kind of madness. And the reason that they were created as twins, and they say this in the game, is because, well, there's a different reason for this in Replicant and Automata. In Replicant, Devila says this herself. Basically, she says that because they were created as twins for this project because they have no souls, and as people, as being this existence with no soul, but some sense of awareness and some sense of a will, it would just simply be too lonely to live out your life without a soul alone. So Devil and Popola were created essentially to comfort each other throughout this entire project. Because they were created with the same sort of issue, they have each other to understand each other and rely on each other, and they are stronger because of that. And I think that's an important message for anyone in real life, and that message is ironically delivered through two soulless androids, and I really, really like that. The importance of having someone in your life that understands you on a very fundamental level that no one else can is probably the best thing that you can have in life. Or maybe I should say the most important thing that you can have in life. So I think their relationship is extremely powerful in that sense. And when you kill Devila towards the end of the game and Popola just breaks down and goes mentally insane, it's completely justifiable. And it's a very powerful scene. I think that's one of, if not my favorite part of the game. And to talk a little bit about Automata here, but in Automata, Devil and Popola are created to obviously feel the guilt and shame, like I mentioned earlier, of failing in Project Gestalt. They're created together so that they can deal with that for similar reasons. They can deal with and shoulder that burden and that guilt and that shame together. Because, I mean, if they were, honestly, if it was one android created to bear all of that guilt, bro, they would just kill themselves. They would just kill themselves. But because they have each other, they're able to support one another and continue living and continue working. I think it's genuinely a valuable message in this game. And I love that it's told, like, ironically through, or the message is delivered ironically through soulless androids. And I mean, no one does this better than Yoko Taro. I think Yoko Taro is genuinely just a master at storytelling. He's someone that, how can I say it? He likes this sort of ironic delivery of messaging. He likes to make really weird, risky, crazy, experimental ideas. He likes to throw a bunch of cool concepts into all of his stories and his characters. And this is why Yoko Taro is by far my favorite video game director. But let's move on to some other characters. I know Kaine is an extremely popular character, and Kaine is a very, 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 very well written character. And I guess I actually don't really have much to say. I do think that other people will probably get more out of Kaine's character than I will, but I can still appreciate her. In case you, I guess, didn't fully understand, they don't outright tell you what Kaine is. So Kaine is, I don't know how to say this word, but is a hermaphrodite. I don't know how to say that word. I know this meme of this dude saying hermaphrodite or something like that. But it's Kaine basically has both genitalia, both male and female genitalia. But she appears to be a woman on the outside, so she just, I guess, prefers to be viewed as a woman, which Twitter loves to like misconstrue. And basically Twitter has just degraded Kaine's character ironically into nothing but her gender or whatever. I could rant about the absolute idiocy of how people on Twitter view this game. So many people on there only care about the fact that Kaine has both genitalia, and only care about the fact that Emil said he was implied that he was gay in one line. And so this was, of course, the only thing that Twitter got out of this game at all. But you know what? I'm not really gonna talk about that. All I'll say is that there is much more depth and complexity to these characters than some people would have you believe, and that's what I would rather honestly discuss. Regardless, back to Kaine. So Kaine, obviously born with both genitalia, and she was discriminated against when by everyone in her village when they found out, which is crazy because it's literally just a birth defect. But the most touching thing about Kaine is really her story told mostly through visual novel format with her grandmother that raised her, which is not actually her grandmother. It's just a random woman that decided to take care of her. And, you know, Kaine was obviously very severely bullied by everyone in her village, and more so by the children around her age who would like throw rocks at her and stuff. And eventually she was, I guess, adopted in a way by who she calls her grandmother, who was this foul-mouthed, crazy woman. And she also has a bit of a negative reputation throughout the village. And you can kind of see this common theme. I'll get to it, but basically Kaine and her grandmother build a relationship with each other. And through her grandmother, Kaine learns to defend herself. She learns a lot about life. She gets to form this genuine relationship with someone for the first time. And they basically survive alongside each other as two fairly hated people. And this seems to be a common theme now that I'm thinking about it. I always have these discoveries as I'm talking about them in these videos, but I really like. It's one of my favorite parts of making these videos. But it's this idea that you need someone who understands you on a fundamental level to really, I guess, make it through life, to be able to survive. Because, I mean, Kaine pretty much wished that she was dead. Before she met her grandmother, she thought she quite literally would have been better off dying. And that's why she needed someone that was similar to her, or that understood her on a fundamental level and could support her. I think this game makes for some really great commentary about loneliness and the necessity of having someone that you can rely on and that can rely on you. This series, and I guess Yoko Taro in general, likes to discuss. I mean, I think it's more prominent in Replicant, really. Yeah, really, now that I think about it, in Replicant, a lot of the relationships are so much more genuine. And I would say that the main discussion of this game is really just, I guess this is reducing it to its most basic form, but just relationships and the importance of them, the importance of not being alone, the importance of having someone who understands you. through being with someone who understands you truly, you're able to overcome a lot of hardships that alone you wouldn't be able to. We see this a lot through Emil. Emil is someone who is, and I love the contrast between Emil, but he brings up that it was Kaine, someone that understood him on a fundamental level, who helped him to come to terms with his eyes and his body that he ended up getting in that time skip or whatever, and how he was kind of miserable the way he was before. You know, Emil's been alive for a very long time. He's older than, I think, the rest of the cast, I think. Well, you know, it's kind of hard to tell how old everyone is with this, with the replicant time skip and stuff, you know? But he was alone and just completely miserable for a very long time until he met Kaine, and through his relationship with Kaine was finally able to confront some of his own inner conflicts and his unhappiness with himself and his appearance and his ability and the sort. He got something that he hated, and he tried to sincerely turn it into something positive. He tried to look at the brighter side of what he deemed as a curse. But he was only able to do that because of Kaine. And Kaine was only able to do what she did because of her grandmother. You can see it's a sort of chain reaction. But to talk more about Emil and Kaine, what I love about them is how different they are when talking about their emotions and what's on their mind. Kaine never wants... She very much so acknowledges her persona, and she's clearly uncomfortable talking about her emotions in front of other people. She doesn't particularly like to do it. And Emil's the opposite. Emil will just like explode with all of his thoughts and emotions on you. And I kind of like that contrast a lot between the two. So, like I said, I imagine that Emil and Kaine are probably most people's favorite character in this game. And it is also worth noting Emil is an automata in some format. It's not the same exact Emil, but he kind of has those same experiences hidden like inside him. Like I want to say he like lost his memory or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. I'd have to play Automata again. I actually did get all of the endings in Automata, so I do remember parts of, I think it was ending Z, where you had to fight Emil, I think, and he starts breaking down. And I wish I had played NieR beforehand, because that would have been sick. But I think it's pretty clear to see why most people, I believe, probably like those two characters the most. And I love them to death. I think they're fantastic characters. Now, I did say originally when I played the original NieR back on the PS3 before Replicant came out, Grimoire Weiss was my favorite. I really do like Grimoire Weiss's personality and his like comedic relief, and I love his relationship with the main protagonist. And I think I always kind of like characters that come from this sort of place of high regard, and then they're kind of thrown in this more commoner setting. This is something like Fire Emblem does a lot, and I like it every single time. I really like characters that kind of have some sort of like innate overconfidence or maybe even arrogance, and then they start to work at like a lower level in society, and they kind of learn more about the people around them. And you know what I mean. I really enjoy characters like that, and I think I really enjoyed that about Vi specifically. I'm often a fan of characters that are like a good balance between comedic relief and like serious moments. And I think that's why Weiss was my favorite originally. I don't know if I'd say he's my favorite anymore. There's an ant on me right now. I think I would still say Devil and Popola are my favorites. And like I said, if I had to pick one, I'd go with Popola, but I mean, I kind of group them together, you know? But this main cast is absolutely outstanding. Some of the other characters that I guess I could highlight are Yona. Yona is just like the cutest, most sweetest, wholesome thing ever, and that's all I gotta really say. She's just the ideal daughter. I mean, other than the fact that she can't like cook, but I mean, it's all right, I guess. I should mention that I did play with English voices, just because I think Drakengard and NieR have usually pretty solid dubs. So, yeah, I played this in English. If I like the dub enough, I'll just play in English because it's less of a hassle, you know. But whoever voiced Yona, I don't remember who it was, but congratulations, you did a fantastic job. Yona had an extremely cute voice. I also want to say Popola, Devla, I love their voices. They're very like calming sounding and just pleasant to the ears. And I think Emmy Evans, the vocalist, they kind of sound like they could be the same person. I know they're not the same person, obviously, but Devil and Popola sing is basically inferred that in the game they are the ones singing Song of the Ancients. So it's really cool, like mechanic of the game where if you walk near Devila, wherever she is, you'll hear her version of Song of the Ancients. And there's like a side quest you can do where you get both of them to sing in the tavern, and then there's like this really like great harmony stuff. I mean, it's Emmy Evans harmonizing with herself in the song, so that's kind of funny. But it's really great. Song of the Ancients is a fantastic, fantastic song. I want to talk more about the soundtrack. I'll get to that later because I do have a good bit to say about it and how outstanding it is. But yeah, I really love that mechanic of just like whenever you walk by them, like the version, like it's the same background music, but with the added vocals. And it works seamlessly. And I really love it. It makes me just want to, like multiple times, I just wanted to like sit there next to them and just listen to the song because it was that good. And Keiichi Okabe is one of my favorite composers ever. I think I forgot what I was talking about. I was talking about the characters and I started talking about the voice acting. Overall, I guess to just talk a little bit about it, I like the voice acting. I like the dub. I thought it was a solid dub. I thought it was pretty good. I think all of the main voices were really solid. I think I pretty much tackled a lot of like the major characters. There's not really anyone else that sticks out too much that I could really talk about. Honestly, I don't have much to say about the protagonist. I will say the main protagonist of NieR Replicant is my least favorite protagonist in NieR and Drakengard. The only one I might like him better than is, I don't even know if I'd say I like him more than 9S, because I really like 9S too. But like Zero, Kaim, 2B, and A2, yeah, I like them all a good bit more than the main protagonist. And like I said, he's not even bad, he's a solid protagonist. I think I just find him a little bit less interesting. Or I guess it's not less interesting, it's more I think he's more straightforward. I guess some other things, let's kind of just talk about some random things about the game before I finish up or talk about the endings. So, like I said, Forest of Myth was something that I enjoyed a lot more this time than I remember enjoying last time. Whoever wrote this, I think they did a great job. I don't know who wrote all of the novel sections entirely, but some of the like graphic detail during some of the nightmares were just really, really interesting and cool. There's this one side quest of this person, and you had to like go down these different hallways in this like visual novel format, and the description, like the horror, what would you call it? Like it reads like a horror novel, and it's very descriptive and graphic, and I love it. It's just aesthetically very, very cool, and I was really into that. I also want to say I like a lot of the areas. I guess I don't know if it classifies as an open world game. It kind of does, but the world's pretty small and it's divided into enough segments that I could see someone saying it's not open world. Like, I don't consider Persona 5 to particularly be open world because it's more so just divided into like a bunch of different sections. Visually and conceptually, I like the way a lot of these places are designed. Like the Forest of Myth is one, but I think the Airy is such a cool like concept for the design of a town, like just on the cliffs of this big valley, I'd be terrified. How many people you think died just from like accidentally falling off the edge? Like seriously, they don't even have any fences or bars or anything to stop them. So many people probably died that way. I love Emil's Mansion a lot. I love Emil's Mansion. That's one of my favorite parts of the game. Aesthetically, it's great. It gets kind of like monochrome, and it kind of plays like, I've never played like the older Resident Evil games. I never played Resident Evil at all actually, but from what as I'm playing at it, I feel like it's supposed to be reminiscent of those older Resident Evil games, you know, where you like walk down the hallways or whatever, and like the camera angles change. I want to say that's what it was inspired by, but I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it could be inspired by something else. Maybe it's not even exactly started from Resident Evil. Maybe it started from something else. And the music that might be my new like favorite song from the game is, I think it's called The Ultimate Weapon. It plays in Emil's Mansion. Like that, I love that song so much. It fits aesthetically and atmospherically so well with that area, and I really like melody writing like that, and the vocal performance and the vocal production is just so top of the line. It's just so good, and Emmy Evans is like my favorite singer ever. I don't know if you could have hired someone more perfect than Emmy Evans for this game. I sincerely don't believe you could find anyone that could do a better job with the NieR soundtrack than Emmy Evans did. And obviously Keiichi Okabe, the composer, just like, I cannot get enough of those two. I cannot. I really hope they work on stuff together in the future. Okay, this was not timed, but I always listen to the soundtrack of whatever I'm talking about during these videos, and like The Ultimate Weapon literally just started playing. Like I did not time this. It was just like, I'm just going through this playlist and it's actually playing right now. It's sick. Yo, I love this song so much. You know what? Let me just go ahead and talk about soundtrack. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The soundtrack is, I'll be real, it's one of the best soundtracks you will hear in video games. It is unique. There's not much else out there like it. It is very creative. It's, a lot of the compositions can be kind of complex. A lot of them can also be kind of simple. It's stripped back when it needs to be, and it's loud. It's busy when it needs to be. I will say I do like Automata's soundtrack a little bit better, but in my opinion, Automata is straight up one of, if not the most impressive video game soundtrack I've ever personally heard. I consider it to be Automata to be my second favorite soundtrack, only behind Persona 5, but I think NieR Automata has the better soundtrack, but Persona 5 is just, it's that perfect combination of, it fits the game perfectly, and it also is just extremely fun to listen to on its own. So it's kind of like, I mean, the compositions of Automata are way more like complex, I guess I would say, and not way more, but they're, I guess, more impressive, you know. Back to Replicant. Replicant soundtrack is equally great. Okay, maybe not equally. I don't think it's as great as Automata's, but it is still very, very great. And if you're interested, you should watch Alex Mokala's video where he just talked about, or I think it's called something like explaining the genius of NieR Replicant soundtrack, something like that. Alex Mokala is one of my favorite YouTubers. He is this composer, producer that he's very knowledgeable, he's very talented, he's a good player and composer, obviously, and he's very, you know, he knows a lot of music theory. He's very good at breaking down what's happening in a song. And he also just genuinely has fun with the videos. And he made a great video about the music for NieR Replicant. And he's made videos on NieR Automata's music before. And just generally cool dude. You should check him out if you are interested in that stuff like I am. Okay, right now Kaine Salvation is playing. I think Kaine Salvation is probably I want to say it's the most iconic song to the game, but I mean, if you look at like YouTube views, it's not the most viewed. It's one of the most viewed, but it's not the most viewed. I don't remember which one was the most. But Kaine Salvation is kind of like the fan favorite to my knowledge, and I really like it. And it represents Kaine in an interesting way. She's a very like dirty, foul-mouthed girl, but Kaine Salvation, the song is it's very light and how would you say, it's gentle. Gentle is a good word. It's very light and gentle and brings out a very specific emotion in you, and it contrasts very, very well with Kaine as a character. It's a pretty genius song in that sense. I'm a big fan of those like choir vocals that you hear in games like this. So NieR Replicant makes excellent use of choirs. The song, I don't know the name of it, the song that plays in The Lost Shrine, and I want to say it's the area as well. Very, very good. I enjoy them a lot. They're very much so unlike anything I've really heard in any other video game soundtracks. I already mentioned Song of the Ancients. I love Song of the Ancients. Okay, so if you know about my main channel, Pros CD, I do like music and covers originals and stuff. I actually tried to cover Song of the Ancients, and I was actually going to ask an acquaintance of mine who is a very, very good singer if she would sing on it, but I ended up hating my arrangement, so I never went through with it, and I did not finish the cover, and I kick myself because of it. I don't know, I just for some reason really struggled with that one. Yeah, I really want to cover it one day though, or just any NieR. I actually, NieR is my favorite series that I haven't like covered anything from on my music channel. I want to change that, but at the same time, every time I go through the soundtrack to pick something, it's just like I don't know what to pick. I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time like visualizing what I want it to sound like. There's definitely more songs I could mention, but I don't know. Just go check out the soundtrack if you're interested. It's a great soundtrack, and it complements the game perfectly. And I think it's worth your time if you're interested in video game soundtracks at all. Before I move into kind of more of the end game content, I guess let's talk about a few more other things that were kind of on my mind. So I'll go ahead and tell you my least favorite part of the game. My least favorite part of the game is going through Junk Heap. I don't like Junk Heap. It takes too long to get there, and it's kind of just a drag of a layout, you know? I don't know. I don't dig Junk Heap too much. Let's see some other stuff. So I guess another important thing to mention about the game is the recontextualization of the game as you go through the endings. So as you go through the game, you just think, oh, hey, all Shades bad. I gotta kill Shades. Kill machines because machines hurt me. Kill everything in my way, blah, blah, blah. Get the sealed verses. Kill all the big bads. Yeah, so you're kind of ignorant to everything about these Shades. You don't know about the project or anything. But as you keep playing, this is kind of the genius part of this game, is that as you play through the ending multiple times, the end portion of the game, which sounds like a drag, and sometimes it kind of is, but they make it worthwhile by recontextualizing everything that you had played up to that point, by showing you the actual thoughts and experiences of the shades that you're, or the sealed verses or whatever, that you're or the shades that you're killing. And it makes you feel bad for these things that the main character absolutely despises. We had the new one that was added, the little girl at the ship, who she just wanted to become a human again, and she wanted to, I guess, live with that guy that was taking care of her, which was like heartwarming, but then really tragic. You had one that was very memorable to me where they showed this shade. It was this little baby shade, and he was with his mother. His mother, there was also a shade, and they were like being hunted, and so she had to leave him. She had to basically sacrifice herself and leave him so that he could live. And so he was left all alone, and then he met this robot, and then he developed a relationship with this robot. It was like this really wholesome thing. They were just like best friends. They had each other. They talked about like the ocean and stuff, and it was just like you just slaughter them. There's this one in Shadow Lord's castle where there's all these little like shade ball looking things, and they're just the main characters, like the main party, talks about how creepy they are. And like the guy there was another shade that was there, and he was saying that they were children. Like, obviously the main party can't understand the shades, but the shades can understand what the humans are saying. So like they were, those little shade balls were quite literally like newborn shades. Like you're just slaughtering little babies. Interestingly enough, I believe it's implied that Kaine knows what the shades are saying because Kaine is actually part shade. So yeah, Kaine the whole time can kind of understand them, and she just kind of has to not say anything. But a lot of, I'm not going to go through all of them, but a lot of these, pretty much all like the big bosses that you fight, their stories are like recontextualized throughout multiple playthroughs, and it feels bad. Like it genuinely feels bad to kill these. They're quite literally people. They're just normal people, literally waiting to get back in their bodies, or just trying to live out their lives normally, at least to some regard. Obviously, some shades are aggressive and just attack you, but it's interesting nevertheless. And I think Yoko Taro makes it a point to never paint you, the player, in just this glorious light. At least in the long run, you'll always end up noticing that some of the decisions you made may not have been the most moral decisions, or they may have been very painful actions that you took without you even knowing, just in complete like blind ignorance, blissful ignorance. I don't feel like those words I just said made any sense, but moving on. I guess let's go ahead and get into the main or the end portion of the game. So like I said, you have to play the end portion of the game basically like 3 times, and then like you can do it 4 if you have to do it 4 if you want to actually have all of the like endings written on your save file. And basically each ending, each time you go through it, you learn more about the situation, you learn more about the shades that you're fighting, you learn more about Devil and Popola. It's all very, 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 very well done. And it's, part of me, like, it's somewhat unenjoyable to play the same part of the game multiple times like that, but eventually you can get through it really fast, and it's interesting enough and impactful enough to where it does keep you to want to keep going. There are a lot of great moments. Most of my favorite moments in the game are in the end portions, like the fight with Devil and Popola. One of my favorites, Emil's sacrifice, is great. When the king of Facade shows up to help you, and they quite literally all die in that fight against that boar or whatever, it's a really well done moment, and it's very impactful. And this game is packed full with emotion. It really is. There's, I think, a very huge emotional payoff if you stick with this game up until the very, very end. To I guess kind of skip a little bit more to the end. Basically, I mean, if you've played the game, you know about it. About Yona, basically, I guess she was, so the original Yona got her body back, but the replicant Yona that developed her own free will was still inside of her, begging to, get her body back and be with her brother again. And the Shadow Lord himself is actually you, the main protagonist, from, like I said, from the beginning of the game. You get it? Yeah. And Yona decides to basically give up her body, even though it was originally hers, and let the replicant Yona have it and be with her brother. She didn't believe it was fair to her, so she kind of sacrifices herself. She walks into the like a window with the sunlight, and I guess because shades are like harmed by the sunlight or whatever, so I guess that's how that happened. And the Shadow Lord, he is mad. He's mad. He is upset. I really did enjoy the fight with Shadow Lord, and I enjoyed the fight right after with Kaine, with Kaine being possessed and whatnot. I also really love Grimoire Vice when he pretty much departs, says farewell. He makes a joke about how he should have taken up that job as being a cookbook, which is really funny. I love his humor. I love Vice. All of this, I don't know, I just think no one really knows how to write stories and characters that are so emotional. I keep using that word, but so emotional and impactful like Yoko Taro does. I know I sound like I'm really just jerking Yoko Taro off, but I mean, I love the dude. He's my favorite video game director. There are things that I definitely do disagree with him on, like philosophically, but that doesn't particularly take away my enjoyment from his games. I think there's a lot of powerful and important messages in his games, whether you particularly agree with him on his philosophy or his worldview or not. Anyways, then there's, the whole thing about Kaine getting possessed by the shade within her, but the shade at this point has actually changed for the better. Like, so basically Kaine, he said, was, filled with darkness and hatred and bitterness and all this stuff. But then he said, towards the end, he said, hey, sunshine, it's all light now, or something like that. I forgot what exactly he said. But Kaine had very much so changed by the end of this game, largely thanks to, the main protagonist and Emil. Not only did Kaine's grandmother help her a lot, but I mean, when Kaine's grandmother died from a shade, she had nothing else on her mind except for revenge. And NieR, or I'm referring to the main character as NieR, but the main character and Emil really taught, and I guess Vice as well, really taught Kaine that she she can do something with her life. She doesn't just have to, get revenge and then be done with it. Say, okay, I don't need to live anymore. There's nothing left, anyways. But that was kind of the peak of her development. Was that she had finally understood, I guess, what it meant to continue living. I guess I don't know. I'm definitely not explaining this very well. Although ironically, she does. She is about to die. And the only way you can save her is if you sacrifice your life. And by sacrificing your life, here's the most genius thing about it. You have to sacrifice your save file. Oh, it's so cool. So in ending D, which Yoko Taro did something similar in NieR Automata, he did not do this in the Drakengard games, by the way. In Drakengard, you do not have to delete your save data. But I think this is a genius thing to do. And another reason why I love Yoko Taro, because crazy idea, right? So basically, if you want to save Kaine, you can only do so by giving up your own life. And the only way to give up your own life is by literally sacrificing your save file, and that includes your name. So if you start a new game, you cannot use that same name because that character is erased from history. That is the coolest thing ever. Now, in the newly added ending E, which is rather interesting because I believe there actually already was an ending E, but it wasn't from the game. It was like a book or something. And it involved Kaine going to the tree, just like this one did. But this one, I believe, turned out a bit different. Anyways, so I love the idea of having to delete your save file. I think it's rather funny and unique, and it ties in to how do I say it? It makes the choice hit a lot harder when you have to delete your save data to do it. It feels like there's a lot of there's a payoff from it. I really like the symbolism of sacrificing your own save data to sacrifice your own life for this video game character, right? I love that. Is that not genius? But yeah, when you do that, basically you as a character have been wiped from existence, and Yona and Kaine are there together, and they have completely forgotten about you. And they always, in the back of their heads, have this feeling that they're forgetting something. And this is talked about more in the newly added ending to this remaster, ending E, where you play as Kaine. It's really interesting, though, how you get to this ending. So basically, how do you get ending E if you sacrifice your save data? Well, you literally have to start the game over from the beginning. And you have to play like the first hour or two. To me, I was speedrunning, so it only took me about like an hour and a half to get to the part that I needed to. And like I said, you can't use the same name, so you had to make a different name. I actually, on the second time, I named him Emerald. On the first time, I named him Proz because that's been my online name for like almost a decade at this point. That's crazy. I made Emerald just on a whim, you know. Yeah, I made this channel. I think I named it Emerald because Pokemon Emerald is my it's my favorite Pokemon game, and I really like the word Emerald. But yeah, when you get to like when you fight the thing in the Airy, the big boy shade, like when you defeat it with Kaine, then I think the game asks you if you want to, you know, do the thing with Kaine. That sounds weird. Um, and basically, you can play as Kaine after some time has passed from the ending of the game, like after you sacrifice your save data and stuff. You know, Kaine, and you want to go home, and you play as Kaine. Kaine's super fun to play as, and she has curse words in her like attacks and stuff. It's kind of funny, but they're like censored. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about this too in depth. I'll just let you know I really enjoyed ending E. I won't lie though, I was it's kind of a blur to me. I remember specific parts of it, but I don't know, it's kind of crazy to go through. There was a lot of the scenery was like Automata inspired because, you know, Automata was such a major hit, you know, remaking this game after Automata came out. They wanted to add a bit of a connection there. So I don't remember exactly what it's supposed to be modeled after. Was it supposed to be modeled after like the tower? I think from Automata, like the towers that popped up towards the ends of the game when you're playing as an 9S and A2. I don't know, but aesthetically it was awesome, and I use that word a lot, aesthetically, because I mean aesthetics to me aesthetics are very important. That might be shallow, but I can't help it. I like aesthetics. I think they're cool. They get me in the mood, you know. But I'm not gonna go through everything that happened. I'll just say I really enjoyed it, and I think some of the imagery was fantastic. It was super fun. It was super exciting. It was it was very engaging, and it was very emotional. I had a lot of words to say for it. I am sweating so much in this room, dude, because I turned the air conditioner off while I record this. You know what? I'm turning it on. I'm turning the air conditioner on. But yeah, so yeah, Kaine, Emil, them all get together. They meet these like beings from the forest of the tree in the forest of myth, which I think they're like observers. I'm not sure. I'd have to replay it or something if I even can replay it or watch it again. But they were very much so NieR antagonists. Yeah, they acted just like them. They were kind of similar in essence to the red girl from the ending of NieR Automata, who to this day fascinates me to no end. And la di la, they bring back the man NieR, the main character, me. They brought him back. They made him alive in like this this gigantic, really cool looking lunar tier where he was like naked and stuff, and it was like the sickest thing ever. It's like it was really cool looking. And you know what? That's probably the closest thing we're ever gonna get to a happy ending from a Yoko Taro game. Kind of. I feel like we get hopeful endings now, but I mean, when you really think about it, that doesn't really change the fact that humanity is gonna go extinct. Humanity is gonna go extinct whether the main character is alive or not. Unfortunately, I mean, Project Gestalt has already failed, unless Yoko Taro wants to retcon the F out of that. I mean, he could, I guess he could say he could start a whole new series and just say that it branches off from that game. That would be kind of cool, actually, if we got another new series that just branched off of that ending, where it somehow miraculously humanity doesn't go extinct. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Overall, I loved ending E. I thought it was great. I really don't have much else to say other than, yep, I liked it. There's my deep analysis. I will say, I was very confused about one thing, and I noticed something very, very interesting about the credits. So, in the credits, in like the first ending, the voice actors for the English voice actors for 2B and 9S did not have a description next to their name on the credits for what they did. They had question marks there. But 2B and 9S didn't show up in it at all, and to any capacity. I was so confused. Like, what did I miss something? I kept thinking that I missed something. I don't think I did. Kira Buckland specifically was the one who voiced 2B. Kira Buckland straight up had like question marks next to her name, and that was crazy. I had absolutely no idea like what she actually did in the game. Something I also noticed was that I think the voice actor for the main character, you, after you delete your save data, after like the credits after like ending D, once you've deleted your existence, I can't remember if the name wasn't there or if it just said like something next to it like unknown or had nothing there, or it was something like that. And it was a really cool little detail to put in the credits. You might have to check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about. I think was his name Zach Aguilar, something like that. But yeah, cool little detail. I guess I'm wrapping up here. I do want to mention some other things, I guess, just random little things, and my closing thoughts. So one thing that bothered me immensely as I played the game was that I very specifically remember in the latter part of this game where you fight the little shade and the robot, when Gideon, the little brother of Jacob, after you know Jacob died and stuff, Gideon, who is probably my least favorite character in the entire freaking franchise, he shows up and he starts like kicking the robot because he blamed this idiot blamed the robot for the death of his brother when this dude literally caused his death. It was this dude, like he literally directly like caused his death because he was being an idiot in the junk heap. And his brother freaking saved him, and then he died. Literally, the robot had nothing to do with it. It was Gideon being mentally ill. What a garbage character. I hate Gideon. I think he's my least favorite NieR/Drakengard character, you know? Anyways, I specifically remember this. He was kicking the robot after you defeat it. And I think in the original NieR, if I am imagining this, like, please correct me, but I feel like I remember this so vividly. But he starts kicking the robot, and you, the main character, say it's like it's not going to bring your mother back, and he says something like, "I know, but it makes me feel better." That line lived rent-free in my head. I remembered that line so specifically. Years later, why was that not in the Replicant version? I was so confused when I got to that part in Replicant. I was like, wait, why didn't he say that thing that I remember him saying? I remember that line so vividly. If I need to go to a mental asylum because I'm crazy and I imagine this, like, please tell me. Maybe I got this from a different game, but I specifically remember him kicking that robot and saying it just made him feel better. Please tell me I am not insane. I guess they changed that line because I remember it too vividly for that to be, made up. I feel like so. Why Toy Logic, Square Enix, whoever was behind that? Why did you do that? Why did you change that line? My experience was ruined, and I hate the game now. Whatever though, right? So here's a little story from when I played the game originally. So like I said, I was kind of rediscovering video games around 2017. 2017 to 2018, and I remember I played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 for the first time back in right before I played NieR on the PS3. So I played Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and I did so many side quests in that game. I remember I got an achievement for doing like 300, and I did more than that. So I did over 300 side quests in that game. I was so burnt out from side quests that when I actually originally played NieR, I did the minimum amount of side quests, dude. I did not want to do any of them because I just didn't want to do side quests anymore. In this playthrough, I definitely did a lot more, and I'm glad I did because I got to see a lot more that I didn't get to see originally, so that's nice. I didn't. I think I probably did about half of them. I'll be real. Some of the side quests were just a little bit too much of a nuisance. I mean, if I could like fast travel in that game, then I would probably consider doing more of them, or I would have considered doing more of them. And when I say fast travel, I don't mean that boat does not. That boat hardly counts as fast traveling. But I don't know. It was a little bit too much back and forth for me to just want to do a bunch of them. So yeah, I did like them though. The ones that I did do, I enjoyed. I also want to mention the DLC. So I didn't even know the game had DLC, dude. I didn't even know the game had DLC until I played Replicant version 1.22474487139. I can't believe I never played the DLC on the PS3. You know, actually, I've never played the DLC for Drakengard 3 either. I need to do that one day because I don't think those games are gonna get remade anytime soon. But yeah, I didn't even know about them. So playing Replicant, yeah, that was pretty fun to play the DLC. I really enjoyed it. They made it seem like the articles that I read about it made it seem like it was going to be, and the game too made it seem like it was going to be a lot harder than it actually was, telling you need to be a specific level, blah blah blah. You don't need it, bro. The game tells you like you need to be at least level 34 or whatever. You do not, dude. You can beat that at like level 30 or whatever. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the music on that one. There was just like a bunch of like electronic kind of rock sounding remixes of a lot of the songs, and yeah, it was super fun. I really enjoyed the music. The gameplay was fun. It was simple, and I really love how you get to play as the opposite version of the main character. So in Replicant you get to play as Father NieR, whereas in Gestalt I believe you would play as Brother NieR. And it also has a lot of like text on each battle, kind of with some lore tie-ins, which I really like because I'm a Drakengard fanboy. I'm one of the like 12 Drakengard fanboys that exist in this world. But I also find it interesting that it's the mother's diary. I want to know if that has any more significance or if they just did it to sound cool, because I want to know how that ties into the mother in any way. Other than that, it's also worth noting that once you get ending E, you can actually get Kaine's sword, I believe, if you go back into that save file. Because you get to, like, once you delete your save file, like, once you do ending E, you actually get it back. You only get one, though. Like, it deletes every other save file, but you get to keep one, or one that has ending D on it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the sword is just like completely maxed out. It does like 999 damage, and it's really good. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, video game. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. I guess I'll just give my closing thoughts about the game and the future of the series. So overall, I love NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139. I think it is a fantastic game. The storytelling is phenomenal. It's extremely emotional. It's very impactful. A lot of strong messages, a lot of strong themes, just very well written characters. The music is fantastic. It looks great now, and I mean now it looks great. It used to not look so great. And it was truly a hidden gem for its time. Also, the gameplay is fantastic, but it was really a hidden gem for its time. Think about the fact that the original NieR got below a 70 on Metacritic. That is criminal. It was truly like before Automata, NieR and Drakengard was really an underground, like underappreciated hidden gem. It was, I mean, I think the original NieR is far better than just about anything else that would be around that same Metacritic score. I don't even think it's comparable. Yes, Replicant improves upon a lot of the original NieR, but it's not that big of a difference. I mean, NieR Replicant, this version we have now, it's scored in like the mid 80s compared to the original, which scored in the 60s. The Replicant is not that big of a step up from the original. It's a step up for sure, but it's not that big of a difference. I think critics just look at it differently now, and that's I also think that the people reviewing it are people that are actually excited to play, or are already invested in the series. I think anyone that reviewed Nier originally didn't know anything about the series, and they were probably just forced to review it, and they just gave it a negative score because they didn't want to play the game in the first place. You know how journalists be, right? Part of me, this is where I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite, but part of me's happy that Nier is finally getting the recognition that it deserves. But another part of me, the hipster part of me, is a little sad that it's no longer an underground hidden gem. I believe like Nier Replicant sales were doing very, very well at launch. So yeah, and you know, I mean, even some like Moist Critical made a video about it. I think he on his Moist meter gave it like a 90% out of 100. So he really liked the game, and he's got like what 8 million subs. So we're past the days of Nier being underground. I think Drakengard is still underground because honestly, I don't think half these people that have are playing the game even know anything about Drakengard. Half of them probably don't even know that it is a spin-off of Drakengard. So part of me does kind of miss the fact that it's going. I mean, I say the reason I say I'm going to be a hypocrite here is because I am one of those people that found the series through Automata. But even then, like, not very many people actually went back and played the other games, especially not Drakengard games, just because Automata came out. A lot of people just played Automata, probably didn't know anything about how it connects to the other games, and then just enjoyed it for what it was and moved on. But I mean, I am a firm believer that the smaller a community, usually the better. Because I mean, once you see fan bases get too big, it's just there's a lot of annoying people in there at a certain point. And I'm not saying fan bases define your enjoyment or my enjoyment of anything. I just think I just honestly think it's more fun to like things that are less popular. I don't have a problem with liking things that are popular. Obviously, you should like the product for what it is, for the most part. But there's a lot to be said for that feeling of having a small group of people that are all joined together liking this obscure thing. It's a nice feeling, I think. So it's I don't know. You kind of feel like you're a part of some club when you enjoy, or I guess I do. I speak for myself here. I kind of feel like I'm a part of a club or something when I enjoy something that isn't so mainstream. And Nier is a popular series at this point. Nier Automata was like Platinum Games' like best selling game that they've ever made, I think. And Nier Replicant, I mean, I think that was Toy Logic, not Platinum. I think they played a part in it. I'm not exactly sure, but that sold pretty well at launch from what I've heard. So I think they even said like surprisingly well, so like above expectations. So I mean they're doing well. But at the same time, I'm really happy Yoko Taro got the recognition he deserves, so he can have more opportunities to make more games that I would love to play. I still really, 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 really want a Drakengard game. I said it in my Drakengard video. I think we will get a Drakengard 4, and I think we'll get it within this decade. I know that's a big window, but I'm, trying to have, trying to be a little realistic, trying to leave it open. I do hope that they don't abandon Drakengard and only do Nier just because Nier sells better. While I love Nier and I do like Nier more than Drakengard, it's really the two together that make it something truly special. Like I've said, just the way that the worlds interconnect, the lore is fantastic. It's all mind-blowing to me. It's something that I just find really interesting and fun, and I want more of it. I want more to be expanded upon. I want I want a game that shows the war between the Legion and the Earth, right? I want a game in between. I want a game that shows Emil. I almost said Amelia. ReZero, right? Emil from when he was being manufactured like a billion times against to fight against the aliens. I want to know about that. I want to see what it was like at the beginning of Drakengard when that metropolis just randomly appeared overnight with all those mythical creatures. I want to see a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of space in between these games, so there's a lot they can do. And I'm here for it. I'm here to play any Drakengard game, any NieR game that comes out. It's one of my favorite series ever. I would say it's probably my fourth or fifth favorite video game series. I'd probably say in order would be like Danganronpa, my favorite, then Persona, then Fire Emblem, then like Pokemon, and then NieR / Drakengard. Maybe it could go above Pokemon one day, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. I know that recently there was a NieR-related mobile game. I think it was called NieR Reincarnation. It was released in Japan not too long ago, a little bit before Replicant was, and we're still waiting on the English version of that. They did update us, I think, some time ago and say, yeah, we're still working on it, but it's going to take a little bit longer so that we can make it blah, 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 blah. You get it, you know. We are going to get that. Maybe I'll make a video about that when I play it. I'm very interested. You know, it's NieR related. I am interested in it. I've seen some like pictures and stuff, some images, like some artwork from it, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know anything about the gameplay or story or anything at all. I just know that there's sexy silver-haired women, white hair, silver hair, whatever it is, something like that. There's also another mobile game that it was called Sin O Alice, I believe. Yoko Taro worked on that one. I downloaded it, but I haven't played it all yet. One thing that did worry me was that, you know, I love the original NieR, right? I'm glad that we got Replicant, but honestly, I would have preferred getting a new game. I don't know, man. I would have rather have had a new game, even though I enjoyed this so much. But that's just me. I mean, I'm someone that had already played the game, but I still really enjoyed my time. But I really cannot wait for Yoko Taro's next like major like console release game. Hopefully Drakengard or NieR related. I know he says he wants to work on more Drakengard and NieR games, which makes me very happy. He did say that a while ago at this point. I believe he said that after Automata came out. So I mean he's definitely been busy. Though right now, Replicant, Reincarnation, and the Sin O Alice all came out. So right now, Yoko Taro is free if he hasn't already started another project, which I hope he has because I want another game. But you know what? I just gotta wait. I just gotta be patient. Wait, he'll make more games unless he dies, which I really hope he doesn't. I mean, hopefully he doesn't, you know, just quit. Please don't quit. He says he enjoys making games more than he does playing them, I think, actually. So we know he wants to make something, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it because, you know, anything he puts his name on is probably going to be something I'm at least somewhat interested in, and I am just really excited for the future of Drakengard and NieR. Like I said, NieR Replicant, absolutely fantastic game. I love it to death. I'm glad this game got the recognition it deserved. I'm glad this game was... I'm glad that we had this new content added because I thought it was really great as well. And it was just a fantastic experience overall. One of my favorite video games, really. I don't know where I'd put it in my like top whatever list. It'd be top 20, I think, probably. And I'm just excited for what's in store. If you ask me, what would I want most of all? I would say I want Drakengard 4 next the most. And if not Drakengard 4, then I would like a NieR game that is set between, like, or set like before Replicant, like when there's the whole war with the Legion and stuff and the White Chlorination Syndrome. I would like that the most, but Yoko Taro, unpredictable lad. So let's see what he has in store. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, an hour and 43 minutes. Yo, I really did not think this video would be this long. I actually thought this was going to be like an hour or less, or maybe like just barely over an hour, but I somehow talked this long, and I should be really tired right now. Probably going to go to bed. So yeah, I thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I don't know if anyone actually did, but I love this series, and I actually did make a video about Automata, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I just didn't upload it. I think I'd want to replay that game, or just maybe just retry making that video, I guess. But I'm not gonna upload the one I have, unless for some reason people just want me to. But I don't know. I don't think it's that good. If you did watch till the end, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I literally never ask for likes or subscribes or anything. I really don't care that much about the likes and subscribes, but I am interested in the comments. If you wanna talk, I do respond to all the comments pretty much. I say pretty much. I very rarely get comments, but I do respond to them. Obviously, I may not see them immediately because this is not my main account. I don't use this account all the time. I have to remind myself to check this account to make sure I haven't missed any notifications. I actually missed a comment that was like 5 days ago, and I felt kind of bad about that one. But I will get to it eventually for sure. And I just like talking about the series. I don't know anyone personally that's ever played it or likes it or anything. So I'm always down to talk about it. Tell me what you think. Tell me your favorite characters or really anything, and maybe how you got into the series. I am all ears. Say literally whatever you want. You can write an essay, and I'll read it. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you have a nice day, night, week, month, year, decade, life.